New college graduates are facing one of the most challenging markets for entry-level jobs in a decade.
We're so cooked. So everyone's wrapping up their internships and the LinkedIn posts are rolling in, but why is it so hard to land one in the first place? I recently went through the recruitment process myself, so I'll be breaking down why is it so hard, why do people want internships in the first place, and how my process went. I also interviewed fellow students in different fields to get their thoughts.
So this summer I'm doing a data engineer internship at RBC.
This upcoming summer, I'm going to be at TD Calgary in their energy banking group as an investment banking summer analyst.
I have a marketing internship at Parvis Investing.
So this summer I'm working as a research assistant.
And then this upcoming summer I'm working at Bain & Company.
And then in 2026, I'm going to Goldman Sachs' Houston energy coverage team.
For the purposes of this video, an internship can be any student job experience at an organization that is relevant to their career interests. And they can range from 1 month long to a year long, but I'll mainly be focusing on formal summer internships in this video.
I have officially submitted my very first internship application of the season.
The way applications work for different internships varies widely depending on what industry you're in, how far into school you are, and this video will be focusing mainly on Canada and the US. For me in particular, I was applying to pharma and biotech companies in Canada, which open up their applications between January and March of the few months before the summer internship. In terms of my background, I am a second-year student double majoring in psychology and economics at McGill University in Montreal, Canada. And most of my past work experience has been in government, working in policy and communications roles. And this includes an internship last summer working for a federal cabinet minister. I was looking to pivot away from government and into industry, but I was still applying to roles in government relations and communications/marketing to leverage my past skills. So that was kind of my framework for applying, and I think it's important to mention the context because everybody is going into the job hunt with different background. I had some notable advantages in that I go to McGill University, which is a target school for recruitment for a lot of industries in Canada. I also had internship experience under my belt going into it. I also had disadvantages in that I was trying to break into an industry that I didn't have a whole bunch of experience or connections in. The process varies a lot depending on the industry though.
For TD, for example, I had a long process of networking and reaching out to people, and I originally didn't even have a target bank in mind or even a target placement in mind, and this was all the way in first year as well, when I sort of had the chance to meet older students and mentors who had kind of been through the same thing. That was really, really big for me because they kind of are able to teach you the ropes in a way that I don't think Wall Street Prep or anything else can. And then was able to get a first round for the Bridging the Gap scholarship program there, which is sort of a scholarship internship diversity initiative that they have. And then did my first round interview, which went really well, and then I did Super Day, and it was 7 rounds. It was a lot of technical prep for that point. Ultimately, it was really cool to talk to the team, and I really enjoyed the interview.
So first, I applied and got into the RBC Tech at RBC Women's Advisory Program. So that was a mentorship program during the fall semester, and then through that, I got an interview for their summer internships. Then I did an online assessment, and then based on that, that's how I got picked for the summer internship. Anecdotally, from what I've heard from my friends and stuff, people have applied to anywhere from 60 to 200 applications during one cycle. So for me, I applied to around 80 internships this summer.
So the recruitment process for MBBs, which include McKinsey, Bain, and BCG, are very similar. They compose of 2 rounds of interviews. Each round has 2 cases, and then your last round interview also has a 30-minute behavioral.
Most of the marketing internships I found opened in March. I recruited for a bunch of different startup companies and then ended up with 2 offers. So I ended up choosing the one I'm at Parvis.
I think the way it usually works is you reach out to a supervisor or a professor and express interest in their research. After that, I know a lot of people were asked to apply for external funding. I got really lucky because I found my lab like first try.
Yeah.
But I know people, especially last year, were sending emails and emails and emails to people. And I think what really makes the difference is actually going to talk to them in person during their office hours.
As you can tell, the process is quite varied and often also quite intense, especially if you don't know how it works going into it. These applications also tend to have really intense requirements, both written and unwritten. Something that I found in my application process was that the companies that I was trying to recruit for hire a lot of master's students for their internship spots, which makes it difficult for me as a second-year undergrad student to compete. Another sort of unspoken rule is how much you need to network before you even apply to these jobs. It feels almost impossible to get an interview if you don't have any connection with the company. I did several coffee chats in the months leading up to the application process, and this was mostly just to learn about the process, the roles, and what different health sciences companies were like. I learned a lot, and some people were even kind enough to refer me once I did actually end up applying at those companies, but I never went into a coffee chat with a primary purpose of getting a referral, and I think that that made things feel a lot less transactional.
I've started doom scrolling on LinkedIn, so that's not a fun update.
Another topic I want to talk about is nepotism. A lot of people have the opportunity to work for their parents' companies or get referrals or connections that they were born into. And that makes it more difficult for those of us that don't have that to compete. And I didn't have connections from my parents, and so I had to do a lot of outreach. But I also think about what would have happened if my parents had been able to get me an internship or help me in some way during the application process. And I don't know that I necessarily would have turned down that opportunity if it had presented itself. But that's a larger conversation about the state of meritocracy in our economy. I also want to mention that I am still privileged in many other ways. I had so much support in terms of mentors, upperclassmen, and resources through my university and programs that I had done in the past. Even just the fact that I live in a major city in a Western democratic country is a huge privilege.
I'm trying to cram as much French into my head as possible because my next interview is in both French and English, and French is my third language. So we'll see how that goes. I just had an interview. I think it went well, but we'll see, I guess.
Do you have any advice for people going through the consulting recruitment process?
Yeah, I think number one, really rely on the people that are going through the process themselves as well. At the end of the day, you're competing against yourself, and you're competing whether you make it through that threshold that the company has. So really being able to, in the consulting format, for instance, running those cases live with somebody else that's going through the process.
The way I approached it is I treated it like taking a final exam, right? If you're gonna spend a lot of time cramming for an exam, that's probably less important to your life than this interview will be, because if you get an interview, you can get this whole summer-long internship, which could be pretty influential.
Another advice I'd give, just as like extra resources, is definitely look into any sort of programs. Where I got my internship currently was basically a Venture for Canada. They have an internship program where they provide subsidies for a good amount of your internship, so that it allows startups to actually hire interns.
So in second year, I participated in a program called CREW, which is a second year women's program there at Bain, and they fly you out to the office. You get to be with 10 other girls across Canada, and you also just get to be in the office and meet everybody. And then I also partook in the BELL program, which is a diversity program for Latin, Indigenous, and Black students. Since I come from a very Latin background, I knew I wanted to do it, and you would be able to intern there for a week.
Another thing that I was considering was making enough money to be able to pay my rent, which is one of the reasons why unpaid internships are really frustrating to me. Not everyone can afford to work for free, which means that only a certain subset of people can afford to take those positions, and that means that a lot of talented people slip through the cracks. I do see it from the view of an employer. Interns often come with little work experience, and they need to be trained in order to actually help the organization. And so it can be hard to justify spending money on them compared to someone further in their career. And this is especially the case where budgets are tighter, such as in nonprofit or academia, and sometimes even the public sector. I'd counter this by saying that young people have fresh ideas, are capable of learning, and they're often also tech savvy. A lot of the times, these people also come back and work full-time for the company, which wouldn't be possible if nobody took a chance on them in the first place.
I was supposed to hear back about a second round interview for one of the companies that I applied to today. I didn't hear back. It's just a waiting game and it sucks. I just got another job rejection. I think this one hurts a lot more because I interviewed for it.
I think I felt very supported in the fact that everyone else around me was going through the same thing.
And I was super stressed about it. I think I was probably shaking during half of the interviews.
Made me more stressed than I think I should have because of how badly I wanted it.
I was a little bit nervous.
I was definitely stressed out, especially because, like, I feel like, especially in computer science, a lot of people around you will be stressing.
Is AI gonna take all of our jobs?
You know we're cooked when Workday itself is laying off employees.
This is again a larger question for another video, but it is something that has made recruitment in the past 2 or 3 years feel especially bleak. One of the companies that I had applied to actually slashed their internship program in half from the previous year. It feels like everyone is making cuts, and it makes the student job market tougher and tougher each year, especially in tech.
Why do you think that's important to have research or internship experience?
Most of the reasons that I heard revolved around learning new skills, testing out a role to see if you want to do it full time, making money, and most notably, so that they could find a job after they graduate. With the new grad job market requiring 5 years of experience and a master's degree to even qualify, landing a job without having done internships beforehand gets harder and harder. In some roles, it's even near impossible to work full-time without having done an internship at the firm prior to that, investment banking, for example. This just adds to the pressure and stress that university students face.
How did you feel once you actually landed the internships?
Really excited. Again, shaking because of how exciting.
I remember getting the call and them offering me the position, and it was just so relieving.
I had like multiple offers as well for research internships with McGill, which I also really wanted to do. So even after I accepted my RBC offer, I kind of, you always have that kind of like regret, like, oh, what if I had done something else?
Very shocked. I don't think, because I'd gone to a point of despair at that point in the break, I was like, oh wait, I might actually have an internship this summer.
And so when I did get it, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually gonna get to do this.
I had another interview for a company that I really want to work at, so... Okay, so I have officially gotten the offer letter, and I'm officially not going to be unemployed this summer, so that's super exciting. I don't know if it's completely hit me. Mission accomplished, I guess.
So I did end up landing an internship in pharma. I had been working on the communications and patient advocacy team this summer at Novartis, which is a global pharmaceutical company headquartered in Switzerland. In the end, I applied to 13 internship positions. I got 3 interviews and 1 offer. I did withdraw my name after getting my offer from Novartis because it was one of my top choice companies. So I don't know if I would have gotten more offers or interviews afterwards.
I know of people that also do really fun, creative things in order to land an internship. Julia Fedorin, for example, at Waterloo, made a video which eventually attracted the attention of Shopify.
I didn't interview anyone who didn't end up landing an internship, mostly because I thought it would be a little bit mean. But I do know a lot of people that didn't, and they still ended up doing really cool things with their summers, whether that be working on passion projects, volunteering, traveling, working, and some of them even ended up starting their own businesses. Check out the startups video if you want to hear more about that. Well, I guess it's time to start thinking about next summer.